Thank you, Prof. Quack, first for the very interesting opening speech and very engaging. So I'm Darryl Lee, the Consortium Manager for ROS-Industrial Asia Pacific. And first up, I want to personally thank everyone to be here with us in this most important event for ROS-Industrial Asia Pacific this year. So I will continue to share on some of the ROS-based technology that we are focusing here in ROS-Industrial. What do we do here and how do we go about proliferating them? For those who are not very clear about ROS-Industrial, just some quick introduction. So ROS-Industrial is a global consortium with regional presence. We have the America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. So within Asia Pacific here, we are hosted within this premise under the Advanced Remanufacturing Technological Center, ARTC. More about it in my next slide. In the ROS-Industrial ecosystem, we have up to around 90 members, and they are in the profiles of Institute of Higher Learnings, technological providers, solution providers, and end users. So these organizations and companies comes together to co-innovate and co-develop and proliferate ROS together, tapping on each other's expertise on the way. Since the last annual workshop, we have 3 new members that joined the ROS Asia Pacific membership. So the first one is SUTD. It's the up-and-coming technological university in Singapore. They are one of the leaders for reconfigurable robotics, and we are very excited to have them with us. Next up is Mitsubishi Electrics, one of the most established robot OEM maker, and we are also excited that they started on their ROS journey with us to make their robot ROS-enabled. And lastly, we have Dormakaba. They are the leading smart door and security access leaders, especially a big player in the infrastructure field, where we will see a lot of them in the robotic interoperability. Come back to ARTC. ARTC is the leading public-private partnership research center in Southeast Asia. So their focus is to develop and deploy advanced manufacturing solutions to upskill local workforces and also to drive local industry competitiveness. It also do so by bridging the gap between research and the industry, and it does so by co-creating and value capturing with the industry through solution implementation. A little bit more here. So ARTC is interested to play within the technological readiness level of 4 to 7, addressing the value of depth in innovation. It does so by process validation and optimization. It goes through conceptualization of technology, and it addresses the industry core technological problems. So next up, I would like to share the journey map of the ROS-Industrial for the past 6 years, Asia Pacific. Bear with me, it's a little bit heavy here, but I will take you through. So first up, in 2017, ROS-Industrial has been incepted under the care of ARTC and NTU, Nanyang Technological University. Within that particular same year, we have launched the first developer training in ROS-1. The following year, we continue to grow the presence in ROS-Industrial within the region, and we have launched very uniquely the World ROS-I Day. That it's a 24 hours full day hackathon. More about this at my later slide. We continue to grow the membership base, and within on the year of 2019, we were awarded the REC program REC stands for Robotics Enabling Capability and Technologies. So this is a funding program that came from the National Robotic Program, NRP, from PROFCRAC. And that actually helps us and enables us to work on ROS2 based development, specifically for perception and manipulation. Within that particular year, we have signed 6 members. If you could see, the members are all below. 2020, it's a COVID year, and that's where we also have to adapt to the requirement to go digital. So we ran our first annual workshop in a digital format. We converted our trainings to digital as well. Within that particular same year, we have launched the developer meeting series. So developer meeting series is a technical sharing of ROS-related topics with the developers. Even though it's COVID, we still get quite a strong member sign up. 6 of them have joined the consortium. Last year itself, we continued the proliferation and adoption of ROS. Through number 1 is the showcase of RMF with some of our industry partners at Changi Airport T3. We managed to also get some of the local implementation going with some of our industry members adopting ROS. And lastly, we officially releases the REC program in terms of the EMD, Easy Manipulation Deployment, and Easy Perception Deployment, EPD. This year itself, we established strong ROS2 development by getting the award of a funding program from the government to work on ROS2 native platform technology. We have launched and enhanced Bootcamp with SUTD and SP. So this, a little bit more about this later on, but it's something that we go up the value chain to work with students to train the next generation roboticists. And lastly, we just came back 2 weeks ago. We presented ROS-Industrial in the largest ROS conference in Japan. Yes, so basically this is the past 6 years, and you could see that we did not plan for this to happen, but it came very interestingly, quite busy, a lot of achievement. And I'm very sure that for the next 5 to 6 years, we really hope to see these activities actually and initiatives actually increases. I would like to articulate a little bit about what we play, how we apply our traits in the Asia Pacific team here in ROS-Industrial. So we look at 4 pillars. Number 1 is strategy. We sit in the ROS2 Technical Steering Committee, hosted by OSRC, Open Robotics. So what we can say is we have, as a member, we are able to influence to a certain extent the direction of ROS2, and we actually represented our members as industry members' voices to the Technical Steering Committee. We have strong alignments with the government agency, and that has helped us with funding opportunity for us to continue to grow our ROS capabilities. We have strong alignments with my colleagues here from the ROS Global, from Germany and from US. We do it on a recurring monthly basis. So we have a focus within the consortium itself. And lastly, when we develop our technological roadmap, we always take reference and requirements from our industry members, because what we develop has to be adopted, and what we develop has to be useful, and it matters because we are the ROS-Industrial. Next up is technology. So ROS2 native platform technology, this is what we're going to do for the next 3 years. We constantly look for test bedding opportunities. We worked with some of the working groups. And then lastly, we are also maintainers of some of the open source packages, obviously those that we have created. Next, quite intensively here is our outreach. We have World ROS-I Day. We have developer training, we have developer meetings, we have boot camps with IHLs, we have ROSCON, and lastly, this current event here, the annual workshop for ROS-Industrial. And lastly, we cannot forget about why our assistant here is because of the industry members and the consortium membership. So we collaborate very closely with our members through collaborative projects, direct projects. We have something called the Focus Technical Project. That is where we get multiple keen members coming together to co-develop solutions to bring down the cost as well. And lastly, we have the Consortium Advisory Committee. And this is a biannual meeting events that we do with all our members. It's quite intimate and inclusive, where we share updates, and cross-share about technological roadmaps. So all in all, this is the 4 pillars that we look at. This is how we ply our trade. This is how we play our role. Next up, I would like to also share a little bit about the ecosystem, coming back to today's theme, right? Ecosystem position that we have, that we play within the ROS-Industrial Asia Pacific. We work closely with prosumers and end users to obtain problem statements, to look for, to work with them to drive industrial applications that obviously suits their operational needs. And lastly, they are the one that will give us the test bidding opportunity. So with this opportunity and a problem statement, we will then go back to downstream to the robotic software developers, hardware and OEM suppliers, as well as system integrator, to co-develop with them through a project collaboration. And at the same time, we also try to bring up these companies together to build capabilities together with us. It's not just all about ROS-based. We work with different, towards our mission, we work with different software and tools. And one of such is Amazon. We actually use EC2 instances for our virtual training program. And lastly, we have a quite extensive support structure and how we actually work with the different stakeholders. So first thing, obviously, ROS-Industrial Consortium, that's where we do alignment, that's where we drive the direction. We work with IHLs to train the next generation roboticists, going beyond just projects. We have strong alignments with government agencies to make sure that whatever that we do aligns back to the national as well as community needs. We work with other research institutes to either co-innovate or divide and conquer in terms of development. And lastly, we do work with the association as well. In this instance, SIAA. They are the association for SMEs, and through them, we are able to reach up to 700 or 1,000 SMEs in their portfolios. So this is, all in all, the ROS-Industrial Asia Pacific ecosystem positions that we actually play. For today's workshop itself, we have prepared 3 main ROS-based application demos. Number 1 is the flexible labeling robotics. So this is a highly customizable and reusable architecture that we have put in place. Obviously, EPD, EMD is there. What we see this as a platform that can be scaled, that can also be easily deployed with minimal effort, really depending on the workflow as well as the number of robots that are being connected. So we will see this demo at level 5 under the robotic arena. We'll get the tour to bring everyone up later on. The second one is actually 5G industrial ROS. What we do here is we couple 5G enterprise network together with ROS2, and we want to see the output is actually a kind of real, I wouldn't say real, but firm real time with very deterministic output. And this is maybe the requirements for lights out manufacturing, and also it could be the benchmark for the next industrial robotics implementation. So this could be the next direction that we could be looking at. And lastly, is the collaboration between ROS-Industrial with Omron and Panasonic. For the Open RMF, using Kyoko and HOSPI as a form of ushering participants around ARTC. So this RMF, Open RMF, have already been deployed in ARTC. All this application were made possible because of the platform capabilities of the ROS-Industrial team, and basically it is in the form of EPD, EMD, navigation tool, and Open RMF. So I touch a little bit about the NAV2 platform technological development. So number one, this program will actually help us to lower the technological barrier for adoption. You will increase the success rate for robotics deployment, and that's what we wanted to do in the first place. And lastly, it's able to uplift capabilities of robotics ecosystem, not just Singapore, beyond Asia Pacific, when we are looking at it at a global way. There's 4 key work streams. The first work stream is deployment of the robotics performance optimization. Second is when we see more and more robots that is being deployed, we need the robot to be in a safe environment, so high performance, safe robot operations. Third is the auto-configurable generic robotic work cell, and last is the native ROS2 robot controller. I will not go into the technicality of each of these work packages because Dr. Zhang Jingbing, who is the technical director for robotics in ARTC, as well as the principal investigator, will be taking us through this in his sharing. And there will be some prototypings that we could be seeing later on to get some understanding about what are these packages about. Okay, so not all activities and initiatives that we do are revenue generation and profit generation. So number one is student bootcamp. Since 2018, we have started. We have trained up to 80 students. And why we do that? Because we know that in order for robotics to proliferate robotics, and for the future, we need the roboticists we need to train the new roboticists going upstream, and we don't leave it to chance. If not, they will go to other fields, right? So this year itself, we have launched an enhanced bootcamp. So what is an enhanced bootcamp? It's actually, we launched it with SUTD and Singapore Poly. So we got to work with 2 IHLs, and we are looking at increasing this ratio to maybe 1:3 next year, 1:4, and then we could increase it to 10:2. So we obviously need a platform like this, and I also want to extend this platform to the industry. For any of the organization, if you want to join us in this journey in helping students upstreams train the next generation students, please let me know. We have World ROS-I Day, uniquely ROS-Industrial, 24 hours hackathon. 3 regions are involved in a relay format. What we do here is we resolve reps and packages and issues that are on the repo that are ROS-Industrial specific. And our commitment to this, it's at any one time we have the whole team there, around 24 hours doing it for the public. And lastly, we have developers meeting that we have launched. It's a technical presentation sharing on relevant topics on ROS. Same thing, we rotate it among the 3 regions in a quarterly basis. So after sharing all this, I have a statement here. It's this effort here actually emphasizes the ROS-Industrial commitment to be to proliferate ROS, and we actually see ourselves as one of the anchor for being the most committed ecosystem player in the open source robotics. And this is how we see ourselves, and this is how we position ourselves, and this is how we drive it. This is going to be my last slide. So ROS-Industrial AP, as I mentioned, we have went and came back from ROSCon. Some update here, or rather some background. ROSCon is the largest ROS developer conference, comprises of technical talks, tutorials, and booth showcases. We see up to 800 participants from 38 countries hosted by Open Robotics within that 3 days. And what we have done there is we have put up a multi-robot manipulation system, and we have also have some takeaways, obviously. So we see that as a very good platform for passionate developers to engage and share. Some of the takeaways that I wanted to share here is we really spoke in depth about common challenges and experience. What are the standards and best practices? And lastly, the limitation and future of ROS. A little bit more in depth, a little bit more insights. Multi-robot arm manipulation and human-robot collaboration are still technically very challenging fields in ROS. So it's really not that ROS can own the world. We do see a very increasing demand for standardization and best practices. So a lot of members of public actually came to us and say that what are the best practice, what are the way forward, how to set up a ROS system that is stable. And lastly, that is very close to our heart and the ROS-Industrial team, it's the strong need to understand the hesitance of industry migrating to ROS2. So we need to know, is it a legacy issue? Is it because ROS1 is still, they're very deeply entrenched into ROS1? Is ROS2 ready? Is ROS2 packages ready? Is the driver readiness? So these are some of the takeaways that we have to internalize after the event, and we will come up with a conclusion later on. This is my last slide, I guess, and I thank you. Do I have time for questions? Time's up. So I don't have time for questions, but if you have, I will be around for the next 2 days. I will take any questions if you have for me offline. Thank you everyone for your time.